reminded me before, this is just a seed. So we'll, next year, inshallah, we'll do something bigger and better, maybe have a parade, or something. So we'll begin with the prayer from Brother Shah.
I would like to begin by quoting a verse number 13 of chapter 49 from Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min zakari aw unsa wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arifu inna akramakum indallah atqakum innallaha alimun khabir. O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and female and made you into nations and tribes, that you may know each other, not that you may despise each other. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is He who is the most righteous of you, and Allah has full knowledge and is well acquainted with all things. The nation and tribes in these courts are the religion and culture of the world. God tells us to learn from each other for the common cause of humanity. Our message is simple, ingrained in our shared values. Building better understanding among different faiths and using religious beliefs to do good are admirable goals for all of us to pursue in the name of peace, justice, and tolerance. Let us remember the victims living and deceased of this horrific event of 9/11/2001. Let us remember the brave volunteers, firefighters, police officers, and emergency workers who were called to service on that day of infamy. Let us be peace on earth, and let it begin with us. I want to say that again, that our volunteers played a huge role on 9/11, and that was the mass evacuation of people on 9/11 on a sea. There were more than 500,000 people moved by volunteers across the sea. At that time, they realized that they are an island. Let's pray. Oh God, let's continue to work together for the common good of humankind. Let us work to build a better future for our communities. Let us be ourselves and let our actions speak louder than our words. Let our action reflect the light of our faith. We have nothing to be ashamed of, and we have nothing to apologize for. We all suffered 9/11 like anyone else. We grieved along with victims of 9/11 like anyone else. We were among the heroes who rushed to help that day. We were among the innocent victims. We were among the injured. We were among those who condemned the killers. We were among those who fought to bring justice to the victims and their families. We are as proud and as patriotic as any other group of Americans. We cannot cross the river unless we feel the stones. God bless us. Amen.
Good. Okay, so now we have the flag raising ceremony by Eagle Scout and scouts who are trying to obtain Eagle Scout.
Bring forth the colors. You may now place your right hand over your heart. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Post the colors. You may now be seated.
Thank you, Brother Bilal. Assalamu alaikum to everyone here. I was asked to prepare a short remarks. I hope I won't take too long. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The terrorist attack of September 11, 2001 changed everything, and it impacted everyone's life. But because of the unfortunate association of Muslim names and nationalities of the 19 individuals who brought about the horrible destruction, American Muslims have suffered a great deal, more than any other religious groups. Not only we face challenges in our daily lives, but find that our religion also has been maligned and misrepresented. But let me point out that despite the negative stereotyping that might lead many to believe otherwise, we, as the followers of the faith of Islam, know it very well that Islam is far from what is being said. Indeed, it is a religion that promotes peace and harmony among people, regardless of their color, ethnicity, or national origin, or the religion. Taking an innocent life is not permissible in Islam. It is considered a major sin. And this is evident from many passages in the Quran, but notably from verse 32 of chapter 5, that translates, quote, "He who kills any person should be looked upon as though he had slain all humankind, and he who saved one life should be regarded as though he has saved the lives of all mankind," end quote. On this day, when the nation is remembering those whose lives came to a sudden and unexpected end, we Muslims share the grief as deeply as anyone else. Our heart goes out to those who lost their loved ones, for a child who is growing up without his father or mother, for a wife who lost her husband, and so on. For all such people, we pray to God to ease their difficulties and grant them peace and tranquility. Amen. As one of you standing up here, I can say with full confidence that like all patriotic Americans, we Muslims also believe in building a nation that is safe, secure, and prosperous. We believe in helping those in need, and we work hard to pass on the high morals and religious values to our children so that they will grow up to be proud U.S. citizens and valuable members of the society. Muslim Americans, just like others, are soldiers, engineers, doctors, teachers, factory workers, law enforcement officers, scientists, and Nobel Prize winners. And like all Americans, we grieve the loss of every person who perished on 9/11. The people who attacked the World Trade Center and the Pentagon 10 years ago were trying to divide the many diverse communities in America. They were trying to attack the freedom, the tolerance, and the respect that people of all faiths in America enjoy as Americans. Let us mark this occasion to unite for the common good of America and prove them wrong. Let us resolve to renew our commitment to build a nation that is even stronger than it was before 9/11. Let us come together to channel our energy to make America a more united and stronger nation than ever before. May God help us and bless our country.
Okay, now we will hear from someone who has gone from a baby to an adult in our community, U.S. Federal Attorney Jalila Attar.
Assalamualaikum. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The Constitution was ratified or adopted in 1787 and ratified in 1789. Prior to that, each colony, I know you've heard the 13 colonies, kind of operated as individual entities. And after the American Revolution, they realized that there was strength in numbers. And so the colonies wanted to come together and create a supreme law of the land for their own protection. And the document that they eventually decided on was the Constitution of the United States. The reason why they created that was, one, again, strength in numbers and the need for consistency amongst the different colonies that were here. But this won't be a history lesson, but the American Revolution was fought because the government had gotten too strong and the people didn't feel like their will was being heard. So they wanted to create a document that created some consistency, but it did not become a monster document that would infringe upon the day-to-day lives of each and every citizen of the United States of America. And it's important that you know that, because I know we often hear about what the Constitution does, but we rarely hear about what it does not do. And that's very important for three reasons. Obviously, we're here in a religious setting, and we talk a lot about the freedom of religion. And there's no secret, I think it's the First Amendment of the Constitution that establishes freedom of religion. And what it does is actually, it's a two-part amendment, and it's an establishment clause and a free and justice clause. And I'll read that at this time. Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. It goes on to talk about speech and press and whatnot, but there's two important things that were established in the First Amendment. That one, Congress cannot make any law establishing a religion. So there's no religion of the United States, and that's prohibited by the Constitution. But it also it goes on to say, nor can they make any law that would prohibit the free exercise thereof. So while they can't create a national religion, they can't prohibit you from exercising whatever religion you choose to practice. And that gets a little sticky, because if you have an issue where you feel like your religious rights are being infringed upon and you want to go to court and say my rights have been infringed upon, well, obviously the courts have to make a decision that you're either going to protect those rights or not. So it's kind of an interesting amendment when you really start looking at the case law. So that's what the Constitution is. It has this freedom of religion policy. But let's talk about what it is not. You hear a lot of times about separation of church and state, okay? The language of separation of church and state is not actually anywhere in the Constitution of the United States, okay? And that's important to know, that you have a document that was adopted over 200 years ago. There have been amendments added to it, but more importantly than the document itself is the case law that goes along with it. And when I say case law, if I have an issue with you, or you have an issue with your boss, or there's something that rises to the level of going to court, and whatever the issue is a constitutional issue, you feel like one of your rights has been deprived, it then can be a constitutional case that can go all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. And at that place, they will write an opinion, and that's called case law. And that opinion becomes the supreme law of the land, just like the Constitution itself, essentially. And so that's where you see the language of separation of church and state. It's in a case that went up because two people had a disagreement, and the justices decided to create this concept of separation of church and state. It wasn't necessarily a novel concept. Thomas Jefferson talked about it, but originally this is one of the first nations that ever had a separation of church and state. A lot of nations just didn't have that prior to it coming up in case law. Something else that the Constitution is not. We talk a lot about we have a right to privacy. We can have privacy in our own home. We can have privacy in this. Well, there's no right to privacy in the Constitution of the United States. Nowhere, you can scour this document, and there